Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. And we are talking tonight about the emerging new Las Vegas Raiders paradigm in the desert. There is a paradigm shift within the Raiders. Obviously, Tom Brady is um, the focal point of that. I think that's completely fair. And it's also extremely fair to talk about Pete Carroll and Giant Spy Tech, um, because certainly have highly contributed to that. And what today really meant. So I want to talk about a couple things. You know what happened? Maxx Crosby gets the largest extension, gets a extension, a 3-year extension. He's now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And just to make sure that you understand the deal, it's a 3-year extension, but it's a 5-year total contract. Max will be under contract through 2029. So quite a bit there. Gardner Minshew's gone, and the Raiders also made their first free agent move today when they signed former Cincinnati Bengal offensive lineman Alex Capa. The Raiders uh, uh, got a new offensive lineman there. So let's break this down and let's talk about these three things uh, microly, and then talk about the paradigm shift macroly in the desert. Now, you need to understand why today with Max was such a big deal. He had 2 years left on his deal, but no guaranteed money. So he gets the massive extension, but it still applies over 5 years. So it's not a salary cap crusher. And considering the way he plays, how he pays, he deserved every dime of it. But it also, uh, because it's over 5 years, it's a very friendly deal, salary cap wise, for the team. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, let me just take a minute and say congratulations, Max, and happy for you, and certainly a well deserved deal. But let me share with you how this is a big deal for the Raiders. Now, it sends a message, and I need Raider fans to hear me out here. When Antonio Pierce got fired and the team, another bad year, there was a lot of frustration, not only on Max's part, but on several key parts to this team. Very key parts of this team, very frustrated at where the organization was going. I'm not saying that Max was frustrated that Antonio got fired or anything like that, or it was just the general losing and the organization's failure to get off high center. And again, it just wasn't Max. Max wanted to come back. I told you that from day one. But Max needed the Raiders to show him we're all in. We're winning. We're all committed to winning. And that was a big deal to Max. That was a very big deal to him. Most people don't know, but Max is part owner in several multi-million dollar businesses. So while you certainly say it's not about the money, Max would have taken significantly less money if the promise would have been there. We promise you'll win a Super Bowl. It certainly, though, is a sign of respect, which he earned because nobody has his stats. Nobody. You want to look at one? I say you look at all of them. Nobody. I've been saying this to you for a while. He is on his way to Canton in a gold jersey. He is a dominant defensive end. He is the most dominant defensive end in the National Football League right now. Put his stats up against anybody you want holistically. Nobody can carry his job. Period. That's just facts. My son is 19. He's a sophomore in college, and that's one of his big things. He'll say something and go, facts. Well, that's facts. That's who Maxx Crosby is. So he signs a massive deal. Now, it send a message. The reason Max signed that deal today, he could have forced a trade. And let me just tell you, I know of 17 teams that were absolutely willing to step up to the pump and make big trades for him. 17. With people I know at those teams who personally asked me, you think Maxx is going to be out there? People who told me their teams called, told me their teams wanted him. I could name you several of them, but it doesn't matter because there's less who didn't want him than did. And people were really willing to pay. I asked one team that desperately wanted him. I said, clearly, I'm not going to report who you are, but if the Raiders called you, what do you give for a Maxx Crosby? He said, what do they want? I said, if they just wanted draft capital. He said, I would go with 3 ones. And I said, for a non quarterback? He said, absolutely, I would. When you look at all of his stats, he's clearly the best. And we're a team that Maxx Crosby could put us over the top. That blew my mind. I'm going to be very honest. I never perceived, and not because I don't think he's valuable, but for 3 ones for a non quarterback. And then he said this. He said, the guy is a beast. He's great in practice. He's great in the locker room. He's great in the community. He is a game changer. So I turned and said to this guy, then why do you think the Raiders would trade him? He goes, now that Tom Brady's in charge with Pete Carroll, they won't let him leave. He goes, this was his words. We work every day to put those kind of guys on our roster. You don't let them walk at the beginning of their prime. So here's what else it does. It sends a message. It sends a clear and succinct message to all of your players. Do what Maxx has done. You'll get what Maxx got. Meaning you show up every day. You be there in the off season. You work hard, balls to the wall in practice. You give it 110%. You play when you're hurt and you're injured. Some of these guys, they get hurt and people are like, wow. Now, I'm not picking on Josh Jacobs. Everybody knows I like him. Everybody does. But when Devontae Adams hurt his hamstring not to play in the last preseason game, I already wrote about this. It made a lot of people angry. And you saw a lot of defensive players play a long time in that preseason game. The last one, when ain't nobody playing. Because they wanted to send a message supporting their captain. When you are a guy who's constantly injured, and I'm not picking on Josh Jacobs, but he was injured all the time. And eventually, this happened with Darren Waller, where teammates are like, listen, play through it. I'm not saying any of those guys aren't tough. And I'm not saying some of them didn't have legitimate injuries where they shouldn't have played. But you got a Maxx Crosby who's now the highest paid non-quarterback in the National Football League, who's playing when everybody's telling him don't. That sends a message to your locker room. It sends a message to your fan base. If guys give us everything, we're giving them everything. And it encourages. How do you think Brock Bowers feels tonight? There's nobody happier than Brock Bowers right now. He looks at it, all right, I just had my rookie year. My rookie year. And I'm the best tight end in the National Football League. I keep practicing the way I practice, and he's like Maxx. I play the way I play, which is like Maxx. I am on a collision course to be the highest paid tight end in the National Football League because this is what that franchise does. How do you think these guys respond to that? It's massive. It's massive. It's massive. If you're a good player, but not great, but you give everything, you show up, you play hard, you do, I'm going to get paid. It sends a message to your locker room, you're going to get paid. And this is a business. I don't work for free at my job. You don't work for free at yours. It's a business. It's a business. Raiders just totally shift the paradigm. They're not cheap. They're not going to overpay, but they're not going to underpay. They're frugal, but not cheap. Max, you're worth the highest paid non-quarterback. And guess what? And I'm using work because I'm speaking in their voice. We're going to pay you like it. Frugal, but not cheap. They weren't stupid. They paid him the most. He didn't do anything stupid. He was pleased. Pleased. Happy guy. It's a paradigm shift. Now, I want to turn attention to Gardner Minshew. Okay? Had a lot of people, not the majority, but still a lot of people say to me, Hondo, I don't know why you're talking like it's a given because that Gardner Minshew is not going to be there because I knew they were getting rid of Gardner. And I really like Gardner. He's a great guy, was not good in Vegas. He's been good other places. I believe Luke Getsy just torpedoed his time in Las Vegas. I think Luke Getsy did it to Aiden O'Connell too, in my opinion. And it was terrible. Absolutely terrible. But he was not going to be the answer. Now, remember last year, and you can go back and watch the podcast, when they signed Gardner Minshew and people were upset, and I said, relax. It's a very easy deal to get rid of him after 1 year. Well, you just saw that. Bye-bye. Very easy. He will get picked up. There are teams that are interested in him already. I know that for a fact. Then it's going to be up to him if he wants to play. But there's a lot of reasons why Gardner did not work out in Vegas. But what I would tell you is primarily, I don't think Luke Getsy helped him. I think there were some other things, but not personal or character. Just it was not a good mix, and it happened. But the paradigm is the Raiders are not keeping guys just around because they've got contracts. Goodbye. We got to go. We got to move you on. Now, another thing happened today. They go out and sign Alex Kappa. I've heard him Kappa in Kappa, but I was told by someone that they thought it was Kappa. A guard from the Bengals. He's started a lot of games. He's played a lot of games. Okay. Do I think that at this point in his career, talking to people, that he is playing at the highest level that there is? No. But I think he'll absolutely be a great depth piece. Absolutely. Be a great depth piece who can step in and start and play. But the Raiders' youth is served on the Raiders' offensive line. And they need to do a little bit more. They will. They're going to. I can tell you that that is top of mind. But again, this is a wise move. He was not expensive, and he comes with a lot of experience, depth, and some relationships with the staff. By the way, if you've not tried Gatorade Watermelon Zero, and I'm not a paid sponsor, phenomenal. You can't find it at stores very much because it's probably sold out, but I tried it the other day and loved it. Now I just ordered online, but great stuff. Anyways, so when you sign this guy, you're now also saying we're going to go get role players, plugs, pieces, but guys with a lot of experience to push our young guys. But it also frees up money to pay our guys. They've got a lot of people to pay. I saw some people today going after this signing, sending me emails, and I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You got a bunch of free agents that they've got to sign. You got to have guys like this to fill your roster. He's an upgrade, serious upgrade over Cody Whitehair. Do I think at this point, right now, today, that I would say he's better than Dylan or JPJ or Jordan Meredith? No. But do I think he could be a big piece? Absolutely. And what you're seeing as you look at this is you're starting to see the paradigm shift. The Raiders have wanted this. You saw it with Dave Ziegler. Telesco did the best that he could. But you're watching this team putting sensibility, common sense at the forefront. We pay our guys, we send a message to our locker room. We go fill in with good, solid veteran role players. And when it's time to move on, we have contracts that we know we can move on with. Gardner Minshew. Now, I was on a national radio show today, and I got some comments from people when I said, they should thank Tom Telesco that they were able to cut him today for literally no pain, talking about Gardner. Someone said, "What are you talking about? Gardner was his guy. That's the guy he wanted." Okay. Whether he wanted him or not. And I can tell you that I would take umbrage with that statement. He still structured the deal where after 1 year they could get rid of him and it would not cripple the Raiders. So I think what you're seeing is pieces being brought together where this thing is really maturating, and there's the way that they're starting to put pieces together. I do expect that there'll be some more signings before the legal tampering, which is the 10th. I expect more. We'll anticipate more. But until then, I think you're starting to see what the Raiders are doing. Now, I want to address one other issue. A lot of people talking about draft. How much is smoke? How much is not smoke? I'm going to address this real quick. I know for a fact lots of smoke gets thrown up in the air this time of year. That is why when I report this time of year, I'm being very careful to only. So, for example, let's just randomly use a team. Let's just use Green Bay Packers. Okay. I know people in leadership of the Green Bay Packers. So, if I'm going to get information on the Green Bay Packers, I am not going to go to them. I will never put people in that position. I may go to them off the record and say, I'm not going to report this. So let me give you an example. Last year, I have relationships with people in the Washington Commanders. They informed me that the Raiders had called them, and their exact words were the Raiders had made calls, plural, and they were not going to give up their pick. And you may remember, I reported you leading up to the draft. The Washington Commanders. I don't know if I said Redskins or not. I apologize. I know that's not their name anymore. I'm just old. So, and I remember them as that. But it's the Commanders. We're not going to get rid of their pick. They weren't going to do it. So I didn't go out and say, and I just asked them, do you care if I say I'm hearing you're not giving it up? Absolutely, go ahead. And they didn't. Okay. They weren't doing it. Okay. That said, um, I had no problem saying that. Now I have gone to people already and just who I trust, so I know they're not giving me smoke. Who this is an advantage of having beat writers with some gray hair. Been around a long time. I talked to one guy today, which you guys know on 4th of July, I always take a trip with NFL people and we go away on a fishing trip and kind of a camping trip with our families. And um, I just said to him, I mean, because we have a friendship, and I just said to him, what do you think about XYZ? And it was something to do with his team. And he goes off the record. And I said, yeah. And he goes, this is kind of what I'm thinking. I said, okay, thanks. Now I would never tell you that, would never share that with you. I may later down the road share something as an opinion, but not factual. But I don't take new information. Now, occasionally, like I was talking to an agent today and who shared some information with me. It's a new agent that I've never dealt with. And I went to two or three people and said, what do you know about this guy? And they both said, really, really nice guy, but he's going to do everything for his client. And like one guy said, a little bit of smoke there. I said, okay. So I took what he said and I'm going to keep it in the back of my mind. If it turns out to be accurate, then I'll know in the future that's very reliable. But for right now, I'm just really careful and I really listen to a group of people who I know and have relationship with. And there'll be times that people will say to me, what do you think this team's thinking? And I will never betray that. I may say, in my opinion, I'm hearing a lot from around the league that this is what they're going to do. I may share it that way, and nobody's against that. But I'm very careful to stay out of that. As you know, yesterday I released my latest 5th-round mock draft, and I had Will Campbell going 1. My goodness, I haven't got that much hate mail. Woo! Since Ben Johnson went somewhere. And all I did with Ben Johnson was tell the truth. But I didn't care. I wasn't mad. I know the Raiders really, really like him. And the way that my mock draft went there, that is how I uh, will fell to them. Abdul Carter was not there. There were some other players not there. So that's how it worked out. Now, let me tell you how I do my mock. I will ask, I like to get at least 10. Sometimes, like yesterday, I did mine with, I don't remember now. I think there was, well, hang on, I can tell you. Okay, yesterday I had 11 people that I talked to, and all I asked them is, your mock opinion, who are the first 5 picks? And so I go through, I put them all down, and then if the majority, so on the mock drafts that I did yesterday, Abdul Carter was in all 11 top 5. And so I just weigh them. For a 1, it's a 5. For a 5, it's a 1. Highest number, that's how I determine the order. And so I actually had people that helped me with it because my opinion doesn't matter. And so the way it fell out, then I go back to the 5 and say, who would you think the Raiders would take at 6? And then I take any other information that I may have. So I know the Raiders were very impressed with Will. That fits kind of their motto. They want to be tough on the lines. So I went with Will. Doesn't mean that's what it's going to be. I'm trying to give you the process. What smoke? What am I hearing? How do I develop my information? And I'm just trying to take you behind the curtain and give you a little information. So I hope that you had a wonderful night. God bless you all. Thank you for your time. Super excited. Great times. Thank you all. Congratulations to Max. And by the way, I want to give one other announcement. Congratulations to the Michigan State Spartan hockey team, back-to-back Big Ten champions in hockey. Now go get a national title, boys. See y'all later.